Welcome, folks. Today is a little special for me. Today we start Ironsworn Starforged Vaults of Vaarn. I've been personally looking forward to this for a while. And today's the day that I'm going to record. We'll see how long I could record. I might have to chop it up into a couple episodes, but we'll see. First things first, I want to give a good shout out to Out on Our Own, the musician creator of the music you hear in the background. I am using this background as a tool for me to get into the vibe of Vaults of Vaarn. You can find their stuff on Bandcamp, which I will link in the description down below. But let's get right into it. Today I want to get into the vows, the game, the mechanics, and everything that I'm going to use in this game. The world building and everything probably will happen as well. I did a lot of that off camera because it takes me a long time to write and to think on things, and to be honest, I do recognize that watching someone write is not the best content, even if it is something that you actually do at the table. And while my playstyle is very organic and very sporadic sometimes, where I'll think of something and I'll do something because I have all my books and stuff are basically right in front of me, right to the side of me, and behind me on a really nice library shelf. Needless to say, this session is going to be going over the Vaults of Vaarn and Ironsworn Starforged truths, going over the character and the region, and hopefully introducing an inciting incident. We're going to be exploring all facets of what the game is, what I plan on trying to accomplish with it in these games, in these sessions. And what I'd like to do right now is introduce or reestablish how I'm going to use Ironsworn Starforged. This system by Sean Tompkin and art by Josh Meehan, I believe. Lead illustrator Joshua Meehan. Wonderful. Again, I have a video on it. Fantastic book. I'm probably not going to reference this all that much because I am familiar with a lot of this. So this will come into play from time to time. But mostly this is going to be the thing that's on camera the most, the reference guide. Effectively, it has all the moves and all the oracles that one would need to play the game. And you can always look up these moves and stuff in the main book if you have more questions. And even has an index that tells you what page it's in on the reference guide and in the rule book if you want more clarification, which is really amazing. This was such a nice addition to the game. I know Ironsworn had the lodestone, the lodestar. I can't remember what it was called. I like this form factor, the coil bound, laying flat and this size. I don't know what this size is, but anyway, this is going to be the thing that I use at the table the most. And then effectively the setting book, the campaign book, and a lot of the tables I'll be using is from this book, the Vaults of Vaarn Deluxe Edition by Leo Hunt. So this will be the book that we use for most of the tables. Instead of generating from the reference guide, I'll be generating it from this book, because I kind of want a lot of the feel and the vibe of the game coming from the Vaults of Vaarn book itself. So let's get into explaining, well, the history and the truths of this campaign. So there's a lot to go through here, and if you want to skip ahead, go right ahead. This is going to be, as stated, my style is freeform, uncut, raw video of just me having fun playing my games. So, without further ado, Vaults of Vaarn, and Ironsworn Starforged, and the truths. The cataclysm itself for this setting of Vaarn itself, the Great Collapse, actually destroyed most of human civilization, but not much is known, and no one can agree on the cause of the Great Collapse. And this happened almost more than a millennia or two ago, probably several millennia even, and no one really understood the impact that it would have. The Exodus. The sun is going out, and over the ages, humanity has evolved and transformed, but the true kin see themselves as exactly that. They are scattered throughout the sands of Vaarn. And true kin in this setting is effectively human, unadulterated human. I'll get more into the setting as we go along. And communication, or communities. The true kin of Earth have scattered themselves throughout the vast sands of Vaarn. They built hidden arcologies to protect against the Great Collapse. So they knew that something was going to happen, or at least prepared for the inevitable. And arcologies are effectively large bunker-style silos or domes that are hermetically sealed from the outside world. So can protect the inhabitants of those inside from whatever's happening outside. Think the vaults in Fallout, or the silo in Wool series. Iron vows are made upon totems of strange metal, and the true kin call it blue iron. And I have an idea of how I want this to be. My character is going to start with a piece of this, but it's kind of a special thing, and I'll get to that later. The laws. Scattered civilization, the new hegemony, a proud true kin empire lays claim and rules Vaarn, but have little presence beside a few fortified border towns of the sands of Vaarn. So the vastness that is the dunes and the sands of Vaarn itself are largely untouched by the laws themselves from this one empire. Are there other empires? Possibly. I haven't really decided if that's going to be a for sure thing, but this is what we know right now. Religion. Mystic gifts can be found throughout the blue sands of Vaarn. For the most part, divine magic, science, and, well, the divine, magic, and science are one in the same. Quite a few cults of sects of religion have sprouted up in Vaarn. So this world does not differentiate between the three major sort of styles of techno magic or divine magic or straight high technology. All intents and purposes, the inhabitants treat it all the same. Magic, one and the same as religion and science. It is both everywhere and nowhere. Depends on the sands and who and what is wielding it. So magic can look like magic, but it's most likely something that is part of the being themselves. That is either misunderstood biology or misunderstood technology. Comms and data. So the pre-collapse, there was virtually no info of the life before the collapse. And even post-collapse, lost to time and the information about the various archaeologies that are not known to this region are lost to time and buried by the sands. So we got lots of unknown places to explore and people to meet that no information that there's a lot of the word is importance on the transference of knowledge and couriers and traveling nomads and merchants are kind of the main source of news and info and rumors. Haven't really decided if it's important for those people or if people even care. But that is how news is spread, is usually by those that actually travel from the various places throughout the sands. Medicine, effectively, potable water is basically life-saving and one of the most valuable resources. Good, clean water basically is very, very highly sought after and fought over. A community, if it's built up, usually has a well and is probably guarded or at least rationed. There are cybernetics and traditional methods of healing. Nanomachines are basically everywhere and can heal or modify the body to do various things for the better or for the worse. Artificial intelligence. So there are synths of various, and there's basically a cornucopia of synth types. Bipedal, quadrupeds, ones that are tasked for a certain type of thing, but long ago they were serving humankind, but have long lost that bond, now free to evolve and walk the sands of Vaarn as they see fit. So they have effectively severed their tie to humanity. Some have decided to go completely rogue and be on their own and have vowed never to be part of humanity ever again. Some have stayed, and their generations have stayed and have worked with humanity. So there is AI in the world. War. So because of the basic needs that have been prioritized, massive scale endeavors aren't really a thing, though skirmishes can occur between factions and their opposing forces. So obviously there can be minor skirmishes and minor battles for, say, water, but in terms of the hegemony making a large force into the sands to take over large swaths of land, it just isn't a thing in this world. Life forms. There are a veritable cornucopia of strange, wonderful, horrific entities out on the sand. So weird entities, standard, squirrel-like armadillo type creatures. There are sandworms. There are beetles. There are camel types. There are many types of creatures in this world. The precursor information. So the autarky, which were a genetically modified god kings that were created by ancient humans. They ruled the planet before the collapse. I don't know if a lot of this will come into play during the campaign, but those are the precursor type of things. And there's another one, horrors, and I've decided to nix the horrors. There are not going to be any sort of undead, ghosty type of stuff, and if they do, it's going to be extremely rare or just story-based stuff. And even before the precursors, there's legends of titans, and they were overthrown and taken over by the autarky. But where they came from and how they actually collapsed, no one knows. So that is the truce, and we'll refer back to this as needed, of course. But right now, I guess we will get into introducing the character. The character is Ardel Santos, known as Cypher in certain circles. He is a true kin, pure blood, no mutations. So he actually came from a caste of true kin from an arcology, an optimate caste of humans, effectively the administrator caste of people. So he rose up and was able to take a position of semi-power to basically delegate and to figure out information. He was not a laborer. He was not a grunt. And he was someone who was in charge of pushing papers around, making sure things worked well. He was that was his social status. So I'm kind of merging both the character creation from Vaults of Vaarn and Starforged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of explain the character traits and stuff that were from Vaults of Vaarn and how I incorporated that into the rules for Ironsworn Starforged. I went with obviously Truekin. I like and I think I've discussed this before, I like playing as humans in a world full of strange things. And it's a lot of fun. So I kept Truekin as his ancestry. And a few things. So he has what's called Pure of Blood, which for this purposes of Starforged, it just means that story-wise, he does not have any modifications to his body. There are no mutations because he was not tainted by the world outside, and his blood is pure of that, and that's what that means. He does have, and with that, I gave him the Lore Hunter path from Starforged as his main sort of identity. And when this Lore Hunter effectively says, when you swear an iron vow, formidable or greater, to recover valuable knowledge or an extraordinary relic, re-roll any dice. And when you reach a milestone in the pursuit of that quest, you take +2 momentum. When you fulfill your vow and score a hit, also mark 2 ticks on your Discovery's legacy track. Effectively, this makes him into a really good data collection and research person. And that made sense with what he was in the arcology. He does have a power, a mystic gift, So when I created the character through Vaults of Vaarn, source of power is nanomachine infection, and he was able to generate lightning or fire. So I went through all of the Starforged assets and picked out Firebrand, which was wild because you wield fiery energy. When you rest and meditate to gather this energy, roll plus spirit. On a strong hit, take up to +3 fire. On a weak hit, take 2. On a miss, take +2 fire but endure harm. Your max fire is +5, and this is the major part of it. The first half is effectively how you build up that energy. But when you make moves aided by this energy to attack or overcome obstacles, add +2 and suffer -1 fire. So I can store energy with this fire. And he got that from a nanomachine infection. And that's interesting because I have decided that he has been exiled from the arcology. As I've previously established, he is truekin, and true humans in those arcologies don't like their communities tainted by things. And because he got infected by nanomachines, he's effectively he's a marked person, so they don't want him there anymore. But he does have this gift, and so he has the ability to basically summon fire if he sits and gathers it from the nanomachines that are inside him. And then I rolled an item, a sky-seeking salve, which basically reverses the effect of gravity on an object, which is hilarious because I wanted him to have a way to move about the sands and not just walk everywhere. I felt having a vehicle would be interesting and a point of importance down the road, so I decided to have him have a hover bike. An unarmed hover bike provides speedy planet-side ground transportation and is equipped to carry up to 2 people and their gear. And when you undertake an expedition, take +1 momentum on a hit. On a strong hit with a match, you also surge ahead or find a new path. Mark progress. So having the hover bike also sort of makes sense, as maybe I know for a fact he was given a task when he was exiled from the arcology. So he was given this hover bike to help him, to aid him in that task. So he has a hover bike. And one last thing, like I also rolled that the power was nanomachine infection, and I wanted to have that be something that could come into play narratively. So I decided to have him have it be a companion. And what made sense to me was a protocol bot. Your protocol bot companion is programmed with knowledge of cultures, languages, and customs. When you are aided by the bot as you make a move in a formal social interaction, add +1. And on a strong hit with a match, you learn something which builds understanding or empathy. Also mark 1 tick on your Bond's legacy track. So I have 2 ways of increasing my quest rewards. One through Lore Hunter in my Discoveries track, and one through my Protocol bot in my Bonds track. That's how you level up your character. You eventually fill out these quest and Bonds and Discovery tracks. So I have 2 ways of filling out the 3 major tracks in the game, and then as long as I keep doing quests, I'll be able to earn XP a little quicker. And that also means that there'll be more opportunities for upgrading my character and interesting roleplay options down the road. So that's kind of why I kind of built it that way. And as for my my craft, my vehicle in Starforged, it's intended to play out in space, out in what's called the forge, and it is, you have a spaceship and you go from planet to asteroid to star system to various anomalies, and you discover the world that way. In this game, we are planet side for the entirety of the whole thing, and I effectively made the hover bike the ship, and I'm going to have the hover bike fully upgraded from the beginning. Normally, you can only upgrade your assets, through XP and through filling out those legacy tracks. But because the hover bike is extremely important to the game and effectively is my home away from home while traveling, the hover bike needs to have a little more oomph and more importance. So he's not going to want to lose the hover bike. It's going to be a very important piece of equipment. So the skiff is powered by a sky-seeking stone. So that's the hover bike, which is wild because I rolled the Exotica that was a sky-seeking salve. So it just kind of, the roles during creation kind of merged well into this situation. When we got to, so that's all of my, that's my character. I did apply the skills, or the numbers, 2 in edge, 2 in heart, 1 in iron, 1 in shadow, and 3 in wits. Effectively, he's not sneaky. He's not deceptive, but he's really good at learning and being. Basically, he's very quick with his mind, and he's trying to do good, and he's trying to do what's right for the society overall. So that's why I gave him 2 heart and 3 wits. And the edge is just so I can give him a little bit of an edge on combat if that ever happens at ranged. He's not a melee person at all. And I did roll up his gear, and he had a spore thrower, an obsidian spore thrower. So effectively, he can throw a cloud of spores at somebody, and it's probably toxic or something like that. Haven't really figured out how that's going to what that's going to be like. And I've definitely, because I'm using the Iron Sworn Starforged rules, the combat will be based on how easy or hard it is to fight. I'm not doing HP. I'm not doing number of enemies with stuff like that. But I will be pulling from the bestiary to figure out what we are interacting with, because these are very, very, very evocative, and I can use this to kind of gauge how hard or easy the interaction might be. So that'll be fun. So when you create your Starforged character, you also kind of create a local connection to something. And before you can even do that, though, you have to create a region. Now, I just took my notebook. This is my Iron Sworn Starforged notebook, and I ripped out a page of my hex notebook, and people were wondering which it is, and it's just this book here, and I just took a page out of it. I got this from Amazon, fairly cheap. It's one of those print-on-demand books. It's very difficult to find one that you like right out of the gate. I actually ordered 2 of them just to see how they looked, and I like this one the best. I did, however, check out this one, which has slightly larger hexes, and if you like edge-to-edge hexes, this one might be a little bit better. I do like this one, but for this particular game and this campaign, I kind of like how this one is laid out, and gives me plenty of space to expand into and explore into. But this region that Ardel Santos is from is called the Cerulean Maw. And it's called the Cerulean Maw because there is a titanic sandworm that roams the sands. And if you've ever seen or read Dune, you know what I am talking about, and that's exactly what you can expect visually. There is, and that is one of the region troubles as well. So there's usually a sector trouble in Starforged, and that's going to be the case for this region in the sands of Vaarn. Is that the trouble is that this titanic sandworm that's roaming around has been disrupting trade and courier travel. And as we've established, trade and couriers are literally the only way that information is shared and expanded into. So that might be something down the road that Ardel might run into, whether he wants to or not. We will have to see. But the Cerulean Maw has a couple of interesting locations. I know the text is small for everyone, but I can do the old school thing of just raising it up a little bit. And this arcology down here in the bottom left-hand side, this is where Ardel is going to start his journey from. And he was tasked to find I have the inciting incident here. He was tasked to bring books back if he wants to re-enter. Now, books are a hot commodity in the sands of Vaarn, because books are basically knowledge, and archives are usually where you can find books. And archives are something in the sands of Vaarn that kind of denote the information that has been stored about humanity over time. Think like the Library of Alexandria or the Library of Congress or any of the art museums and stuff like that. Those are the archives on the sands of Arden. And so I'm going to just read this little short thing in the book of Vaults of Vaarn about an archive. To forget is to be human, for the burden of an unceasing memory is too great for the mortal mind to withstand. Some resist the creeping triumph of oblivion, erecting great libraries and charging these structures with the endless remembering their frail minds cannot bear. I love that. That feel is so not demoralizing, but very humbling to humanity, right? And so the people within these archives probably take their job pretty seriously in keeping those archives safe and acquiring more. So for Ardel to be able to bring books back without either the aid of or the assistance of an archive librarian or something like that is probably going to be pretty slim to none. So we'll see if he even is able to get back home. But there are a few things about this. There are dotted lines, which effectively means these are safe-ish routes, kind of like the drift passages in the sectors for Starforged. going to kind of play them the same. These will be undertaking a journey type of thing, and if something happens along the way, we can stop and mark where that will be, and we will eventually fill out this map a little bit more. But I have quite a few things on here that he probably had downloaded into his little device. The archaeology humans here have effectively, not unlike the vaults in Fallout, Pip-Boy type thing, but it's not that clunky. It's not that obvious. It's kind of a wrist thing that's more like a wristband that he can take on and off. And effectively, this basically does everything from interfacing with certain technologies that are compatible. And if they do have digital trading options, you can use credits like that. And or if they only take physical things, he can produce real quote money if he finds currency and stuff like that. Starforged is very loose on supplies and stuff like that. It's just marked as supplies and spirit and health. So I don't need to list every item that he has. But this is the Cerulean Maw, where we will find Ardell being effectively exiled and told to bring books back if he wants to re-enter. Because his home archaeology of vault is lacking in books, and warrior priests have sent Ardell with the protocol nanobots to find more and return them. And he is sent out because his firebrand gift, they see that those modifications and mutations as heretical. So if he's ever going to want to come back and rejoin the society, he's going to have to get rid of these nanobots for good, and bring back these books of knowledge. So that's the inciting incident. He's probably going to make a vow to do that, but it's also going to be a long quest as well. So I don't think it's going to be a short quest. Most first vows in Starforged are fairly short, but this is another one that's going to be a longer quest to finish. So effectively, it could be the background vow, but I have a twist. And this is what I'm very excited about. What I love about Starforged is that I love exploring into space. And Vaults of Vaarn, I had originally visited this place, and these are actually the notes over here. But I had originally visited this place from the other way around, where my captain basically crash landed onto Vaarn and explored and had to start finding pieces to fix his ship. This campaign, we're literally going to do the opposite, because my character's background vow is this. Something is out there. Got to find a way off this rock. To the stars. So he wants to find a way off of this planet. He has heard stories and myths and legends of ancient Earth, URTH, that there were spaceships that went up into the stars, and there might be more like him out there. And so that's effectively my take on this different sort of reverse Starforged campaign. We're not starting in space, we're starting on on the ground, boots on the sand, so to speak. And it'll be very interesting having him find these artifacts. And basically what I'm going to have is the assets, the assets of this game. I'm going to have him find pieces for a starship. There are various, like a workshop, sensor array, vehicle-based stealth tech, all these med bay, cannons, grappler. I'm going to have him find various things, various modules for a starship. And eventually, he'll have enough to take off and then go up into the stars. That's my ultimate goal for this. That's his background vow. So background vow is 1 tick per progress, which means that I think with 10 boxes, that's 40 significant pieces of milestones. 40 milestones, and then he should be able to complete this background vow and then leave the planet. So it may not happen. I have yet to have any of my characters finish a background vow. I've had one come pretty close, and then my character who crash landed onto Vaults of Vaarn have not finished that campaign, but he has collected 3 of the 6 pieces for his ship. And that's not really a background vow. That's more like of a long term. I made it not epic, but extreme. So it was 2 ticks per, so it was only 20 milestones to complete. So he was 10. So he completed 10 parts of his big quest to re-enter space. But for this campaign, we're just going to join. We're going to join Ardell in his journey from the archaeology of Vault. I'm going to write that name, V-U-L-T, of Vault, which is funny. It's called Vault. And depending on how I pronounce it, it might be heard as Vault, but it's Vault. He is currently exiled from this place, so we basically will open up on him hopping up on his bike and probably going off into any particular direction. But I think that's all I'm going to record for today. I just wanted to get a quick, but an introductory video up for everyone to kind of gauge what they can expect going forward. Because I'm excited for this, and I think I'm going to be doing a lot of recording with this campaign. I love this system. I love the Vaults of Vaarn. And I'll be having the music from Out on Our Own in the background throughout all of these videos. And once again, you can check out their content on Bandcamp. Again, the link will be in the description below. But thank you for joining me today, and until next time, I'll see you on the flip side.